Hey there, everyone. It's Denise Salcedo, and hanging out with me right now is Stephen Bash. Stephen, I want to start off by asking you, this is a totally different event from where we're normally at with UpNext Fighting. So this time here, we're at the La Mirada Performing Arts Center, and this is a serious event. As you know, UpNext Fighting has collaborated a lot with Bad Meds and this campaign and getting the message out to the public about counterfeit drugs. So I do want to ask you just to kind of walk us through a little bit about what's going on here today.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, I think we first started, with UpNext Fighting becoming a part of the Bad Meds campaign because we thought, this is a really important message to send to folks. And then we've kind of become immersed into it because what I'm realizing and what everyone in UpNext Fighting has realized how prevalent this problem is, because there's so many things that you don't know, and then once you know, you're like, well, wait a minute, this is crazy, we have to do something else about it. And so you don't know that the ads that you see online or on social media about pharmaceuticals are selling fake drugs. And once you realize that, and once you hear about the stories of families who have lost folks that weren't necessarily drug addicts, but folks that were sick and folks that needed prescription medication and needed help, and you realize how, you Google accidental overdose or anything else, and it's not just in Los Angeles. We heard Sam Chapman speak about his son, and everyone in Los Angeles heard about that. I remember exactly where I was during COVID when news came out about the 16-year-old boy who, through Snapchat. Snapchat is something that my 14-year-old uses, and it's the biggest fear that any parent can have is not only for their children to do drugs, but even if they need certain medication, to get it from someone that they don't know, who finds them on social media, who sells them something that's counterfeit, which has a deadly ingredient in it. And so, but when you Google that or when you search it, you realize, well, the same thing just happened to someone in Chicago, or the same thing that happened to somebody in New Jersey or anything else. So it's literally all across the country, because if there's one thing that social media and the internet has that didn't exist years ago, is the prevalence, is the widespread. It's just the access to millions. Everyone's got quote unquote millions of followers, which means they have access to millions of people, which is something that, as someone that's older, I wasn't used to. I was thinking about the last Saturday when I was thinking about what UNF is doing during their show, as opposed to, let's say, what I used to do when I first started shows. And I was thinking, wow, when I did my first show in 2008, Instagram didn't exist. Snapchat didn't exist. TikTok didn't exist. Most things didn't exist. I remember doing, being part of boxing shows where, I was barely able to use my cell phone at the time because it was still something new and novel. So the good parts about, progress and technology have a lot of bad parts about it. So what I'm seeing here today is really just a huge extension of that, because this is much bigger than UNF. My goal now that I've, learned so much and realized, how our world is affected by this, is to hopefully say, yeah, UNF is doing this, but the UFC should be doing this. Bellator should be doing this. Let's not even talk about MMA for a second. The NFL should be doing this. NBA, NHL. We had Sean Avery, a former NHL hockey player, at our event, and he also was like, wow, I didn't know about a lot of this, but the NHL should be doing a lot of this, because we know that a lot of athletes are taking supplements and taking nutritional stuff and everything else. Now, so a lot of them can afford to go to a pharmacy or take actual drugs, but so many folks are going to Mexico, or so many folks are looking online. So this event is just part of the eye-opening process, and hopefully we at UNF, or just we as human beings, can do everything we can to kind of spread the word.
I do want to ask you, because here's the thing, like when it came down to this, I feel like a lot of the things that people that may not have been aware about how bad the situation got, I remember when I was listening to that press conference and I was thinking, oh my God, hearing the numbers, seeing all the deaths and this and that, it is a very hard thing. So for you, as somebody who's, obviously knows a lot about what's going on and everything that's going on here, what was like the biggest shocking thing to you when you kind of, just learned a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on with, young people going on the internet and buying, unfortunately buying fake drugs? Like for you, what was like the biggest takeaway?
The biggest takeaway for me is how easy things are to access these drugs, how easy it is for not only adults but for children to be able to use the modern technology they're using better than their parents, and how easy it is for them to obtain that. It's literally as simple as getting a message from a stranger, having that drug delivered to their house, and going up into their room secretly in private and doing something. So that's been kind of the biggest takeaway that I've had in all of this. And then in addition to that is how it affects literally every single community. So, we only think about kind of our own little worlds and what we're in, our friends, the schools of our kids. We have our communities. So you and I, we are part of our UNF community. I have friends that are part of my children's school community. I have my work community. As an attorney, I have my attorney friends and folks that I congregate there. We have our religious communities. But for every church there is in this country, for every school there is in this country, there's one in every single community in every single world, and it doesn't discriminate. So it could be someone that has money, it could be someone that doesn't have money, it could be someone that's white, black, Hispanic, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So that's kind of the biggest, eye-opening part. And everyone that's actually here at this event, this is, mostly the LA Sheriff's Department and the Department of Homeland Security, and they're talking about the fact that this has gotten worse since they first started the campaign. The numbers just keep growing. And it's a collaborative effort, but at the end of the day, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department only covers a certain amount, a certain area. So this is the same thing that's happening in Northern California. It's the same thing that's happening in San Diego, same thing that's happening out of state in other states. And so hopefully, faster than the growing trend of more and more deaths that are resulting from this, this will hopefully be something that other communities are doing as well, with not only their law enforcement, but at the end of the day, there's a woman, Natalie Salazar, that I just heard speak from a organization called Crime Stoppers, where folks can make anonymous reports of certain things that are going on in their communities. I think that the only way that this can be stopped, or this can be slowed down, because who knows if it can ever be stopped, is education, is just awareness. Like, to me, the biggest turning event has been the awareness of this, the understanding, and then possibly doing something about it. And it can be done one at a time. It could be done by anybody that might be watching this interview and know that something is going on in their community with a friend's child or anything else like that, and just do something about it, even if you do it anonymously, even if you literally just, it's amazing. They have an app, they have a phone number, you just literally call. They don't know who you are, they'll never know who you are, but it's just one extra step that you have to try to save someone's life. And so at the end of the day, I mean, we all have our thoughts of, okay, man, if I could make this world a better place, if I can do just one little thing, if you could literally just do one thing to save one life, but then it's multiplied by everyone in their communities doing that as well, now you're saving thousands and hundreds of thousands of lives, because it's not a joke. I mean, hundreds of thousands of lives are being lost, so let's just try to save some of those lives one person at a time.
Well said, well said. I feel like we learned so much, but Crime Stoppers, make sure to check them out so you can figure out how you can help people just little by little, even just spreading out that message. Stephen, thank you so much for chatting with us here today.